One of them was NASA. And
On this edition of Native Report, we meet entrepreneur Andy Wells. We visit the Grand Portage Band of Ojibwe and learn about the significance of the Spirit Little Cedar Tree. And we continue with part 3 of Barrow Whalers of the North. We also learn something new about Indian country and hear from our elders on this Native Report.
Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux Community, the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, and the Blandin Foundation.
Hi, welcome to Native Report. I'm Stacey Thunder. In 1985, Andy Wells founded a manufacturing company in Bemidji, Minnesota, and it has been so successful he's received many awards for his entrepreneurship. In addition, Andy developed an apprenticeship academy that provides job training to Native Americans.
On this warm summer day, businessman and inventor Andy Wells is describing one of his first inventions.
Well, we didn't have many material things, so in order to have toys or things, we pretty much had to build them ourselves. We grew up with some small farming and trapping, and one of the big problems was just getting out in the swamp during the trap lines. So I was able to save up enough money, $50, to buy an old aircraft engine, and mounted that to a little cab I built with some skis on it, and made a propeller for it, and with that we could slide on the snow almost like an airboat, and we could do our trap line and get around out in the swamp. But it was just a start. I went on and built motor scooters and go-karts and boats, and if you wanted something you had to pretty much build it yourself. Didn't know it at the time, but that actually was a good learning process, and I'm thankful for that.
Andy went on to get his teaching degree and also worked several years with Control Data Corporation. And it was after that company folded when he saw his first manufacturing success.
You know, you have to be resourceful, and on the way back from Minneapolis, I stopped at Cold Spring, which is by St. Cloud, took a tour through the chicken processing plant. I'd grown up on a farm raising chickens, and I thought maybe there's something there I can spot as an opportunity. Well, during that time of the tour, we walked through, we could see a lot of people using scissors in the processing like this. And they were trimming off different parts of the chicken in the processing. But there was also a lot of carpal tunnel and tendonitis using a scissors all day long. So I went to work inventing a product for them, a little air-powered scissor like this, and with an air hose on the bottom, they just move their finger a tiny amount and the blades will close, and it takes away a lot of that carpal tunnel problem. This became a real successful product for us, and we started selling them all over the United States. So that was one of our first big success stories.
Other ventures include designing a snowmobile, consulting with NASA and the Army, and delving into alternative energy. But his greatest success may be what he's given back to the community.
When I grew up on the reservation, I realized how little opportunity there is and how many good people we have. So I wanted to stay here in the community and try and develop some opportunities for these people. And so as we developed our manufacturing and we had new jobs, I found that most of the Native American people who applied for the jobs didn't have the industrial training or experience. So we created a little school called Wells Academy that specifically provides the startup experience and education that they can work in industry. And it teaches some of the real basic skills, but also some of the technical skills that helps them move on up. We give them the starting training, and then after a certain number of weeks or months, we give them some advanced training so they can get promoted too. And it's been a good program to help a lot of those who've been struggling. I've found from my experience in life that it doesn't really matter where you come from. You know, if you're from a reservation or a ghetto or a rich community, it doesn't really matter. It's where you're going and how you plan to get there that really counts. So I've developed a 4-step process that I advise young people, and the first is character. They've got to have good character. You've got to be somebody on the inside. You got to be honest, you got to be credible, you got to be trustworthy by other people. And then the second part is you got to have a vision. And when the eagles would fly over, my grandfather would say the eagle can see maybe 10 times better than us, but you have something that you can see that the eagle can't, and that's imagination. And you can imagine your future, a good future, and you can imagine what you need to get there. And that brings up the third point, strategy. You've got to learn every day. And then the fourth part is action. You've got to do it. You can't sit around just talking about it. You got to get up there, take a chance, have the courage, be willing to make mistakes and learn from them, and do it. Over the past few years, we've trained approximately probably 20 all the way through, and we've had about 40 that started. But even those that have not gone the full way, which is a full year of training, a lot of them have gotten part way and then got job offers, and we're glad to see them take a job even if they're partway through training. I tell them not to pass up an offer. If they can take it and land a job, go for it.
Andy has received much well-earned recognition for what he has done with Wells Technology and Wells Academy, but one award carries special meaning.
The SBA had a contest, and we were able to win the Minnesota Small Business of the Year award. With that, we were invited, along with the other states, to go to Washington. So there was about 50 winners there in Washington, D.C. We didn't know exactly who we'd be seeing. They had put out rumors that it might be one of the other political people, Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or someone. They told us when they come in just to stand up and applaud. And anyway, when it eventually got started, an announcer said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States," and we were just really surprised. And so I was just listening carefully, and then he started talking about Andy Wells and Wells Technology, and it was really a big surprise. I was just really kind of awestruck. So it was a special moment that I would never forget. I like to encourage other people to, small businesses especially, to reach out. There's a lot of good people in communities that need help, and to have an open mind. Sometimes people who come to the door don't appear always perfect on a job application, but I'm not perfect either. And we all make our mistakes in life. The main thing is we have to learn from them and then try to get better in the future. And so I look for those people who have a good attitude and want to get better, and then I can help them.
Did you know there is a sacred spirit tree on the Grand Portage Reservation in northeastern Minnesota? The tree, also called Manidoo Giizhigance, or Spirit Little Cedar Tree, is an ancient cedar growing on the shore of Lake Superior. The earliest written records of the tree are by French explorers in 1731, who commented on the tree as mature at the time, making it more than 300 years old today. The tree is held sacred by the Ojibwe, who traditionally leave offerings of tobacco to ensure a safe journey on Lake Superior. Due to its sacred nature and vandalism problems in the past, the tree is considered off limits to visitors unless accompanied by a Grand Portage band member. The tree is small for a mature conifer, as it is growing out of a bare rock on the shoreline. Its gnarled, stunted, and twisting branches have been the subject of many photographs.
Manidoo Giizhigance is Ojibwe for Spirit Little Cedar Tree. The tree, more commonly known as the witch tree, has stood as a silent lookout for hundreds of years on the shores of Lake Superior. And to the Ojibwe, this is much more than a tree.
On this cool fall morning, the waves of Lake Superior splash against the rock face, where the Spirit Little Cedar Tree has stood for ages.
What we're told through oral history is that our people left the East Coast probably about between 12 and 14,000 years ago. And what they say, it was a sacred migration that took approximately 4,000 years. So when the people hit a place called Bowie Tong, which is today called Sault Ste. Marie, it was there they settled for a while, and from there again they continued the journey. And what they did is they split. Some of the clans went the northern part of the lake, and the other clans went the southwestern part of the lake. And the people here in Grand Portage are descendants of those clans that left Sault Ste. Marie and came the northern part. And so we're talking about our people probably getting here thousands of years ago. The name of the tree was Manidoo Giizhigance, Spirit Little Cedar Tree. And they knew that this was a sacred place. And so it was felt that then some people should stay here. Another thing they understood about this tree is that it was a boundary. That it would be a boundary, and as you can see, the tree is pointing out. And it's pointing out, if you go straight out there, eventually you're going to hit Isle Royal. So they knew that Isle Royal was also a sacred place.
Located on the Grand Portage Indian Reservation in northeastern Minnesota, offerings to the spirit of the tree are made in the present, much like they were in the past.
There's spirits in the water that live, what we call living in the natural order of the world, and that's their place. They say there's a very Giizhigance, there's a big large snake, serpent that lives in Lake Superior. And it's so our people understood that, and so before they left for Isle Royal, they would have to put tobacco and acknowledge this tree and ask for a safe journey. It's a sacred marker for this area that our people came and understood and acknowledged that this was something that was to be taken care of, honored, and looked after, because it was here for a purpose to protect this area and protect the people and keep it safe. And over there's a little cove, and over there are little spirits that live in that cove, and they also protect this tree.
Access to the Spirit Little Cedar Tree, more commonly known as the Witch Tree, is limited to band members and their guests.
When people hear about this tree, they come here. And because they don't have an understanding of the sacredness of it, people have come and abused it. They've taken pieces from it. They just don't understand that it's here to use, but not to disturb. In order to protect it, because that's our responsibility, that we were feeling that if it was just open to everybody, and especially people who didn't understand the significance of it, that there were chances that it would be abused. And so thus we created the other trail, and we have a platform up here, then people can come and view it. We did it for protection and safety of our tree. This is for everybody. What we'd like to do is, before people come out, they usually have to have a tribal member come out, and we hope that we educate the tribal members that bring people out to give them the history and knowledge of the tree, so that they also understand the significance, so that they just come out and just take pictures of it and see that's all there is. I got a nice picture of this tree that scientifically nobody can explain, and it was never meant to be explained scientifically, that the Creator put it here for a purpose, for all people who come to this area to come and share and feel a sense of its sacredness.
For Morrin, the tree and the land it sits upon offers a refuge away from the stresses of the outside world.
This is where I come when sometimes things get hard, life gets hard, a lot of things on my mind. I come here to find comfort, sereneness. I come here to pray. I come here to pray and ask for help. Not just help for me, but help for my people. Because this tree was put here for the Anishinaabe people. When they came here thousands of years ago, they saw it and saw that this was a place for us to find, to continue to understand who we are as a people. When we say Anishinaabe, that means a human being. And we're part of a human family. That means all of the humans living on this earth. We're all connected. We're all connected to creation, and we're all connected to each other. So this is for everybody. We have culture, we have a way of life. Bima Giizhigance, the good life. And so this is part of that Bima Giizhigance, to understand that we have to honor sacred places and sacred things. And if we continue doing that, honoring those things and honoring all creation, that we will have a good life. And the people will be safe, they'll be protected, they'll understand the need to share, to take care of each other, to respect each other, understand, love each other. So it's very important that the future generation understand this place, even Grand Portage, the whole area of Grand Portage, that our ancestors preserved this area for us. It's only been through years of going out and seeking that knowledge of the traditions and the history and the understandings that over the years I began to really understand the significance of this tree to our people.
We're really the experts about who we are, and that we are the ones that should be articulating our needs and advocating our interests, because we know ourselves the best. And I felt strongly that we needed to ask for those things and make recommendations about what we needed. And I found that to be an effective way of causing things to happen. Sometimes people don't know, what we need or what we want unless we let them know. You don't know, I don't know what you know, and you don't know what I'm thinking sometimes. And so, we need to have that communication, and we need to be clear about, who we are. And I, emphasize that to young people, the importance of, asking and expressing, those things that are important to us.
In part 2 of Barrow Whalers of the North, produced by Jeanie Greene of Alaska, we learned about the importance of the whale feast. We continue now with part 3, in which we learn more about the city of Barrow.
It is the most northern community in the United States. Although this Alaskan community sits at the top of the state, it has come to be known as the top of the world. To the indigenous people who have dwelled here since time immemorial, the area is known as Ukbiavik. The place where owls are hunted. To the rest of the world, the area is known as Barrow, named after Sir John Barrow, the second Secretary of the British Admiralty. Traditionally, an Inupiaq Eskimo village, Barrow has grown in size over the years and is now home for over 4,400 people, with approximately 64% of the population being Alaska Native or part Native. Located on the shores of the Chukchi Sea, Barrow is the economic center of the North Slope Borough. The economy of Barrow is largely dependent upon tax revenues from the North Slope oil fields. Many residents are employed by the North Slope Borough and the many businesses that provide support services to oil field operations. Being located on the Chukchi Sea has both its benefits and downfalls. Fish, walrus, seal, birds, and whales are easily accessible to these Inupiaq people. But at the same time, the fierce winds and pounding waves of the Chukchi Sea take their toll on this coastal community.
All these are sandbags from last fall. Every fall, all the waves get really big and start taking out the road here and the beach, and North Slope Board put in these sandbags to help the erosion problem that's been going on in Barrow for the past, ever since I can remember. There used to be a real big hill right here where I used to go sledding when I was a little kid. And they used to go all the way to the water where the ice is. The beach used to go out about another 50 feet, 75 feet maybe. But every year the waves get really big and take out the roads, start taking out the coastline. They got to move those houses every about 8 to 10 years.
This road's currently closed, right?
Yeah, this road's currently closed unless you got a good 4x.
Even with the erosion problem that is not exclusively here in Barrow, but is also prevalent in many of the coastal villages along the Chukchi and Bering Seas, the people here are able to adapt to the changes that occur in Barrow, including the influx of visitors who come here each year. During the summer, tourism provides a large boost to the economy as sightseers come from thousands of miles to get a taste of life in the far north and catch a glimpse of the midnight sun. In fact, the Inupiaq Heritage Center in Barrow offers the experience of a lifetime for hundreds of tourists each year. Inside the center, you will find artifacts that date back as far as 500 AD. Relics that were once tools for everyday life and songs and dances that are still very much a part of the life for these Inupiaq people today. These songs and dances are stories and lessons that have been passed down from generation to generation and continue to be passed on today. Within the movements of these dances, stories are being told. Some songs tell the lessons learned about sharing and working together. Each song and dance has a meaning that in one way or another is directly related to the Inupiaq way of life.
This game right here is called the Noble of Death. And long ago, especially in the sod homes, we play this game. We would anchor one end of the game onto the floor and attach the other one onto the roof. And also long ago, this piece of bone was very small. Also had a very small pinhole. Also, our spears had a very sharp piece of bone of ivory. The object of the game is to get your spear into the hole first.
At the Inupiaq Heritage Center, visitors also learn about different native games like this one.
You gotta go again. You gotta make it a little longer than that. Twice in a row. Again. One more time. Again, Dominic. You can do it 3 times. Dominic.
Or visitors can learn about the traditional clothing of the Inupiaq people. What kind of animal fur is used, where the animal is hunted, and how the furs are sewn into clothing. It's a brief but informative visit that opens up the eyes of many visiting tourists, giving them a little insight to the power and pride of the Inupiaq way of life. Lifelong resident Lloyd Levitt explains.
Barrow is a very close-knit community. That much I know about Barrow. I was born and raised right here in Barrow. And a lot of it is based on unity whenever we do our hunting traditions and wherever we go. It's based all on unity without unity, we really can't succeed by ourselves. That's what I believe in.
It's a belief that is instilled in the Inupiaq people from birth, the glue that bonds them together. Traditionally, when a problem or issue would arise within a village, the elders would get together and find a solution to the problem. It is this kind of unity and ability to work together that is still practiced today that deserves the respect of cultures from around the world.
For more information about Native Report or the stories we've covered, you can find us at nativereport.org and on Facebook. Thank you for spending this time with your friends and neighbors here on Native Report. I'm Stacey Thunder. Hope to see you next time.
Stacey Thunder is a member of and legal counsel for the Red Lake Nation, and Tad Johnson is a member of the Boys Fort Band of Chippewa and is chair for the American Indian Studies Department on the campus of the University of Minnesota Duluth. Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux Community, the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, and the Blandin Foundation.